Welcome to Boundless B, the Hemophilia B podcast, the podcast standing with you from a family like yours, presented by the Coalition for Hemophilia B, and in partnership with Balancing Life's Issues. This episode is brought to you by Sanofi. Sanofi is committed to working with the hemophilia community to shed light on the unmet needs of people living with hemophilia and to advance the hemophilia care paradigm to go beyond treating bleeds. I'm your host Kai, and today you'll hear the stories of 4 extraordinary members of the community who have found the transformative power of music in managing the physical and emotional challenges of hemophilia B. For some, the power of music has been with them their whole lives, but for others, it was something they discovered through the Beats program, a program that connects community members through music to help build lasting relationships. Later in the episode, we'll hear from artist, inventor, and outspoken advocate for the hemophilia B community, Maxwell Feinstein, who has 25 plus years of experience as a musician and is also a member of the steering committee for the Beats program. But first, I'd like for you to hear from Bryant, Izzy, and Jackie, all of whom have faced the challenges of living with or supporting someone with hemophilia B, and how music has played a significant role in lessening the physical and emotional toll it has had on their lives.
So my name is Bryant Holderried. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, with my wonderful wife, Lori Long, who a lot of people in the hemophilia community will know. She's definitely been involved for the last couple of decades and been an advocate. Our son also lives here, Jordan. Both Lori and Jordan have hemophilia.
I started by asking how music helps Bryant and his family cope.
I think I would say that that music is, in a way, it can be a distraction from things that are giving us trouble. We often think of distraction as being negative, but I think there comes times when maybe dealing with something that's a problem, kind of gone as far as you can when you're in thinking about it, and you do need a distraction to get your mind cleared a little bit. And there are good distractions and there are bad distractions. There's doom scrolling through your social media or whatever it might be, but there are positive distractions too, and I think music is one of those.
And the hemophilia B community knows all too well the frustrations and anger that comes along with access or lack thereof to life-saving medication.
Something that we've gone through this last year. My wife having trouble getting her medication on the sort of schedule that she needs it. And there's been a lot of, trying to fight with the insurance companies, and that can get very frustrating. And so again, to have something, when you're stressed out and angry and frustrated, to have an avenue to kind of put that stuff aside and just kind of focus on what's in front of you. It's really hard to sit down with a guitar and be singing and have your attention on, the insurance problem or whatever it is that's giving you trouble. You really you're focused on where your fingers are and how you're singing.
And I was curious what kind of artists or songs Bryant's family gravitates towards.
So I I started out when I was a teenager. I was like a big heavy metal fan. I was a big Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, Metallica kind of guy. Guns N' Roses kind of came out when I was a late teenager. Kind of over the years, I've sort of migrated a little more towards the acoustic folk country kind of side. When I started playing guitar, all I had was an acoustic guitar, and kind of over the years have been there. So that's like where my interest lies, in kind of folksy Americana acoustic guitar fingerpicking styles.
And I went on to ask Bryant how music has helped form a sense of community within the hemophilia B community.
Yeah. So I first heard about Beats. I think it was the second year that they did it, and I was like, "Oh, that's for me." So I went to that, and I just had a fantastic time. A lot of times you go to symposium and education weekends and things like that the coalition hosts and other hemophilia groups. And of course, they're, very interesting. The difference with Beats is just that you've got music to share. And I've just made great friends with people in the hemophilia B community that I would have known them, but I would not have gotten as close to folks like, Rick Starks and his brother Raymond and Joe Perkins and Wayne Cook and all these guys. Some really cool conversations with and gotten to know them a lot more. And just feel tighter in the community because of that. It's just a fantastic program. I can't thank the coalition enough for doing it, and the pharma that supports it. It's just been a really great way for us to get together, bond, make friendships, and enjoy one another's company.
And I was curious about a specific connection that Bryant made at one of these events.
Story, there was a guy, it was like our last night, maybe the second year that I went, and the band was all playing out all I had was my acoustic guitar, and I didn't have a way to amplify. So I kind of like went off in a little corner in another room and was playing. And a young man came in and was asking me if I would show him some chords. And he was kind of a rank beginner and everything. So, I'd love to. And, gave him the guitar, he pointed, put your finger here, here, here. That's a G chord. And he kind of got it. And we went through a G, C, and a D, got the cowboy 3 chords and the truth, right? Came back the next year. The young man's name is Nathan. He was playing Metallica songs all the way through. Absolutely. I mean, the guy is just, he's a genius. He's got a real future in music. So that was a case there. Yeah, look for me. I'll show you cowboy chords. Whether you end up playing Metallica is not guaranteed.
So my name's Izzy. I'm 17 years old. I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia. I'm currently a senior in high school in 12th grade. I really love to sing. I'm in my own band, Total Luminosity, where I'm the lead singer. I do chorus. I like to play piano, guitar, all that stuff.
And I asked Izzy about her experience finding out that she had hemophilia B.
So when I was 14, I got diagnosed with hemophilia B. So it's been about 3 years since I got diagnosed. And going through my whole life, having hemophilia and not really having a single clue that I had it, that was really hard for me. And I have always had instances where I've gotten injured. There was this one time when I was 13, the year before I got diagnosed, where I tried to learn how to penny board, and I fell off of it backwards and landed on my elbow, and it hurt so bad. I thought I broke a bone. I thought I fractured. I had to have sprained something, but I didn't. I went to the ER because it was warm. It didn't feel right. But my doctor was like, there's nothing broken. We did an x-ray. There's no fracture, no sprain, no broken bone. You should be fine. I don't know why it hurts so much, pretty much. They had no idea. Something's not right here. Because my brother was diagnosed at birth, my younger brother, and he has hemophilia B severe. So naturally, because that news was so hard, especially because it was during COVID time, so I didn't have many friends. I didn't have anyone to hang out with to distract me or deal with the news. I kind of just I had the support of my family, but it was really hard for me to not feel alone. And music has really been my biggest outlet. Even when I felt completely alone, I still had my music, listening to music, playing music, just singing it. It has helped me get through, especially my diagnosis and feeling lost. I mean, I've experienced depression and I have anxiety. So music has definitely been a huge role in my life, especially during my time of diagnosis and now even.
It's clear the emotional journey Izzy has been on has been a big one, but I was curious about the physical journey. How has music helped her cope with the physical symptoms of living with hemophilia B?
I would definitely say that it's a really good tool for distraction. I don't get bleeds super often, but I do deal with joint pains, my knees. I get a lot of pain in my knees. And if I'm having a really hard day where my knees are in pain, my whole body's in pain, because I'll have moments like that sometimes where I just I feel I can't even get out of bed because I get knee pain, and it's hard for me to deal with that. So if it gets to that point, I just like to lay in bed, listen to some music. It's been it's a good tool to deal with pain. So during the period of my diagnosis and around that time, I listened to a specific song, and it was Creep by Radiohead. Radiohead has basically been one of my biggest inspirational bands to me, because their music has just helped me get through so much, especially Creep. I have such a personal connection to that song, especially there's one lyric in that song where it's like, I want a perfect body, I want a perfect soul. That hit so hard when I was dealing with my diagnosis because I felt like there was something wrong with me.
And as we wrapped up our conversation, I just wanted to ask how music has helped her create a sense of community.
It's brought me to a lot of people and a lot of different like communities. Like, for example, it motivated me to do more with my music, and from that I joined the Beats program. Like, I had no idea what the Beats program was until like I started looking into like the different like coalition stuff, just because like I was like, I need to meet someone else. Like, I have family with hemophilia, but I wanted to have people more my age and meet other people who also are into music and have hemophilia or know someone who has hemophilia, like a family member. The Beats program brought me a lot of good friends that I still talk to now, and that's the biggest reason why I continue to go to the Beats. The community that I've developed through the coalition and through the Beats program, I'm really, really grateful for. You're never alone. I know it sounds cliche, but even if you don't have a single person in the world who you feel like you support, you always have music. Music will always be there, and even if you're scared to take that initiative, sometimes you kind of just have to do it. Like, life is hard and life is really scary, and like, trust me, I know what it's like to feel alone. I don't agree with the statement that people say, oh, it'll get better. I think it does get better. You'll go through hard times and you'll go through good times, but the most important thing that you need to remember is that you're not alone in it.
My full name is Jacqueline Marie Maddox. I'm the mother of 2 grown sons with hemophilia B with an inhibitor, which, as you can imagine, just kind of, adds to the challenge of hemophilia.
Which is one of the questions we wanted to ask. How has music helped with the challenge of hemophilia?
My sons and I actually kind of bonded because of the music. We needed to have something as a family that we could be involved in that had nothing to do with hospitals and doctors. Through music, we found a way to bond that was healthy and healing.
But I was curious, how does music even come up as an option when exploring avenues for managing the physical and emotional challenges that come along with living with hemophilia B?
It helps us stay connected to each other and to something that's greater than ourselves. And music is the link to that.
So I went on to ask, how has music and performing music created a sense of community for her sons who are living with hemophilia B?
Performing music itself creates a community inherently, giving my sons confidence that was taken away by constant hospitalizations and the injuries that they always had. That always took them out of school. The minute they made good friends, they ended up in the hospital for months. That was very debilitating. So they always felt isolated when they were younger. But now that they're involved and engaged with the hemophilia community through music, they have also found their place in the non-disabled world as well.
But last was Jackie's advice on how someone can begin to use music as a tool to help with their physical and emotional well-being.
Whether you're actively listening to the music or not, you see, because music is alive to you, and then it lives in you. And while it won't keep the pain away, it gives a sense that this too, this episode, this crisis, that it will pass if you just hang on. And the music says, hang on to me.
Welcome to the podcast, Max. I'm so glad to have you here with our Boundless Bee listeners. And, I first just wanted to give you a opportunity to tell our listeners about your personal journey with hemophilia B and how music has played a role in that journey.
Well, the two are intertwined because I'm actually a patient with hemophilia A. So the short answer there is that my journey with music and hemophilia at large has allowed me to be of service to the Coalition for Hemophilia B and the community members that I normally see at national things, but can more directly participate within the Beats program, as that's the only arts-driven programming in the community. So it's a privilege to be able to use, my 20 year or so career as a musician to be able to help other people express themselves, really.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I think so many people know who you are, and I think that's a testament to what you bring to the community. But can you go back to that maybe the time of where you started learning about your diagnosis, and maybe the early parts of those stages in your life, and the difficulties and navigating those things, and I guess when did music become that tool for you that will kind of help guide you through difficult moments?
Do you remember your first moment of sentience of consciousness? Like when life just snapped on?
I can think back to maybe a birthday party. I was 3. I'm pretty sure I got a pretty awesome Micro Machine set. I'm dating myself a little bit saying Micro Machine, but I believe that was the moment.
That's basically about as long as I've known about hemophilia, because that's what this community is it's a community of self-advocacy and self-awareness as much as public awareness. Because to put it very bluntly, you spend your childhood explaining what is wrong with you to people who have to assume responsibility for something they don't understand.
Yeah. And that's really difficult, especially as a child.
You're literally learning med school stuff at the same time as you're learning vowels. A, C, D, clotting cascade. It's a whole thing, man. It's literally an interpolation of your linear childhood education with stuff you actually kind of have to be in a very specific field of medicine to even understand or know about.
Yeah. And so do you feel like as a result, you had to grow up really fast?
Yes and no. I wouldn't say I became mature, but I became very cynical very early in my life because of this. Because gotcha. Maybe I was bright enough to pick up on some stuff, but not intelligent enough to put it into the right perspective, because, you're a child. And when you are insightful, that doesn't mean you are doing it usefully. So I remember as a kid learning how much my medicine cost, and that sort of mixed with what has been called a terminal uniqueness, or in a sense of iconoclasm, where I don't deal arbitrary very well. If I can't understand why something's happening, I'm likely to not care about it. And a lot of the community events as a kid, because I didn't understand things and I was depressed a lot, so I would just yell that people only cared about the money. And I'm like 7 years old. What 7-year-old is doing that? Apparently me.
Talk to us about, how did music make its way into your life to help you with this ideas of cynicism and depression? And I guess what I'm sensing is like anger as a kid.
Oh my God, so much anger. Music was always a part of my life, insofar as the obligatory school recorder or percussion or things. My parents loved theater, so we would go see shows. So I was, the house was always full of that kind of stuff, show tunes, Sinatra, the Everly Brothers. And my sister is about 4 years older than me. So, I'm getting the trendy or appealing things. There was just so much to grab onto all at once in my mind. But I didn't start this until about 11 or something. Like I rounded the bandstand. I tried other instruments. One day I saw some friends, in a high school band, just shedding out on Smells Like Teen Spirit. And I'm like, this is loud. This is in front of me. This is cool. And when you're that age with that weird lack of perspective in an unmanageable condition, or not to say hemophilia is unmanaged, but it's got a lot of growing pains. You really, especially.
It's overwhelming.
So I thought, okay, maybe if I pick up guitar, I can be 50% music and 50% hemophilia. And that would be a way better balance.
Tell me about those moments for you. Do you get lost in the music? Are you able to forget about what you're managing? And I guess tell our listeners about it, because I know there are people out there who are interested in how music can have an emotional and maybe even a physical impact when managing things. At
this point, the catharsis for me comes in the writing and the performing of things that I know I've dialed in. I love to write. There's really nothing as special as figuring out the exact way to say what's on your mind and in your heart.
You mentioned it briefly at the beginning, but what that entry point into the community, with the Coalition for Hemophilia B. Talk to us a little bit more about like your musical involvement there, and maybe like what are some of the fun, cool connections that you've made as a result?
Well, I've had the fortune of knowing Wayne Cook since I was a kid. You know, my mother was in the community. My mother was very active in the community. And as a result, I got to know him and others. But as is often the case, as I got older and wanted to make my way out in the world, those ambitions kind of became at odds with community interface. When I made my way back to the community, it was about 5 years ago. I learned that the Beats program was going on. I called up Kim. I said, hey, how can I help? She very graciously said, well, what can you think of? Think of some stuff. Send me some programs. And I did. And she greenlit them. And that was my first year at the Beats, was 21. It was just so beautiful to see and to be able to give to people who were trying to do better for themselves or find the art in it or the craft in it. And so what I've been doing is trying to continually find things to bring in. Like last year, this past Beats, we ended up in a larger recording situation where we all collaboratively went to a larger studio and worked on a song, all of us, to be able to up the interesting and purposeful programming that will allow people to really get immersed in what the professional experience or the more serious immersive experience of the matter is.
Yeah. And, and I think what it brings to mind for me is, the idea, or like maybe at the core foundation of music is the fact that we're sharing it or that we're doing it together. And, there's a difference between maybe, being able to play in your room alone and then being able to maybe share those things like with the Beats program, for example.
I would agree. I would say that one isn't necessarily better than the other. I think we're
of course
better for sharing. I think one person sharing emboldens the whole, but at the same time, my goal is to help people express themselves and express themselves with the feeling that they've done so accurately. And the idea that I can help other people do that and at the very least get them to worry less about the wrong things, because a lot of that bandwidth, even if it's not about refocusing them, it's just kind of about cutting a few concerns away so they've got more bandwidth.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful way to look at it. And I have a feeling those who run into you through the Beats program or anywhere are better off after the fact. So I guess, one last question would be for any of our listeners out there who, have maybe been interested in using music as a tool, but haven't stepped through that door yet. Or maybe there's a parent listening whose child, has hemophilia. What would be your advice to just kind of get the ball rolling for anyone like that?
What do you like? What do you like to listen to? I guess to just follow what moves you. If you're scared about playing instruments, then get yourself a pair of claves, little wood blocks that you can clink together. And that way you have a small thing that will allow you to learn a fundamental aspect of music, which is timekeeping. You're still training yourself. You're still building the ground that will allow you to translate certain appreciable skills across the bandstand.
This has been Boundless B, the Hemophilia B podcast, the podcast standing with you from a family like yours, presented by the Coalition for Hemophilia B, and in partnership with Balancing Life's Issues. This episode was brought to you by Sanofi. Sanofi is committed to working with the hemophilia community to shed light on the unmet needs of people living with hemophilia and to advance the hemophilia care paradigm to go beyond treating bleeds. For more information on upcoming CHB community events, just go to hemob.org and click on Get Involved, then Upcoming Events. And thank you to our guests, Bryant, Izzy, Jackie, and Max. Until next time, everybody, take care. This episode of Boundless B, the Hemophilia B podcast, presented by the Coalition for Hemophilia B, is made possible in part by the support of CSL. We thank CSL for their continued commitment to the bleeding disorders community. This episode of Boundless B, the Hemophilia B podcast, presented by the Coalition for Hemophilia B, is made possible in part by the support of CSL. We thank CSL for their continued commitment to the bleeding disorders community.